Hello to my wise and practical homemakers out there. You know who you are. The ones who love a good clean out but also know the sting of decluttering regret. Maybe it was that weird conditioner you thought you'd never use or a turkey pan you swore you didn't need. Decluttering can feel empowering until it backfires. Suddenly you're buying back the very thing you gave away. We all want a simpler, tidier home. But in the rush to get rid of clutter, it's easy to let go of things we actually need. And here's the part no one talks about. Not everything has to go. Some things deserve a place in your home even if you don't use them every day. Even if they seem like extras. Even if some decluttering guru says otherwise. Today I'm going to walk you through 12 everyday items you should never declutter. These aren't just exceptions, they're the safety net that keeps your home running smoothly. The quiet heroes in your cabinets, closets, and storage bins. And if you hold on to these, you'll avoid that familiar feeling of, why did I get rid of that? This isn't about hoarding or second-guessing. It's about decluttering smarter, not harder. And it starts with knowing what to keep. Let me tell you what's been quietly sitting under my bathroom sink, those half-used bottles of shampoo conditioners that didn't quite work and random bars of soap that came home in a gift basket. For years, I thought I should just toss these. They looked messy, took up space, and felt like a failed purchase. But over time, I realized they weren't mistakes. They were backups waiting for their moment. That fancy conditioner that made my hair feel heavy. It turned out to be amazing for shaving. A bottle of shampoo that didn't lather the way I liked. I used it to hand wash delicates. And the extra soap bars, I tucked them into linen drawers to keep things fresh until they're needed. These little items might not be favorites, but they're far from useless. A while ago, I decided to hit pause on buying anything new. No toiletries, no replacements. Just use what I had. It was strangely satisfying. Each time I finished a product, I felt lighter, not just physically, but mentally. I wasn't wasting. I wasn't chasing something better. I was making use of what was already here. Now, let's be clear, I'm not suggesting you hang on to old, crusty makeup you haven't touched in years. If it's expired or makes you feel meh, let it go. But basics like soap, shampoo, or even that weird bottle of body wash someone gifted you, they might still have a second life. We're so quick to label these things as clutter, but sometimes they're just waiting for a different role. And having a few tucked away, it's not mess, it's quiet preparation. And that kind of calm readiness feels a lot better than another trash bag full of what-ifs. There's a certain kind of item that gets unfairly labeled as clutter. It's not flashy, it's not used every day, and yet when you need it, nothing else will do. For me, it's our turkey roasting pan. It lives in the basement. I use it once a year, maybe twice if I'm feeling fancy. And every time I pull it out, I'm grateful I didn't listen to that little voice that said, "You haven't used this in months. Get rid of it." The same goes for our gravy boat holiday tablecloths, oversized casserole dishes. Things that only matter during certain seasons but matter a lot when their moment comes. They're the quiet rhythm of family traditions, of comfort food, of gathering around a table that only looks like that once a year. These things aren't daily essentials, but they're deeply woven into what makes a home feel lived in and ready. And they don't need to live in your kitchen cabinets if space is tight. I keep mine tucked away, labeled and out of the way, but never forgotten. That's not clutter. That's planning. We often declutter based on frequency. If I haven't used it in X months, it's gone. But real life isn't that linear. Life has seasons. So does a home. And making space for those just once in a while items means making space for celebration, for generosity, for being prepared. Minimalism isn't about pretending the holidays don't exist. It's not about making do with one baking dish when guests are coming. It's about making room for what actually supports your life, even if it only shows up once in a while. Another category people overlook: paper products. Toilet paper, paper towels, napkins, these feel like too much when you're staring at a packed cabinet. But they're not clutter. They're insurance. I used to feel guilty about my stockpile. 20 rolls of paper towels felt excessive, until I stopped using disposables and switched to cloths. Now I only use 1 roll a year. And you know what? I'm grateful I still have that stash in the basement. I don't need to run to the store in a storm. I don't panic when guests drop in. It's there when life gets messy because it always does. These aren't just paper goods, they're peace of mind. They help your household function during unpredictable moments. And you can store them smartly. Stash extras in the garage, the back of a closet, or a labeled bin. It doesn't need to look minimal to feel intentional. So, the next time you're tempted to edit your stash because it looks like too much, ask yourself, would future me thank me for keeping this? If the answer is yes, it's not clutter. It's just quietly doing its job. Let's talk about duplicates, the so-called no-no of minimalism. You've heard the advice, if you have 2, get rid of 1. But what if having 2 or 3 is what keeps your day running smoothly? In my house, we have multiple scissors. Not because we collect them, but because they disappear when you need them most. 1 pair in the kitchen drawer, 1 in the office, 1 upstairs. Same goes for measuring cups, spatulas, wooden spoons. I cook a lot. Having extras means I can keep going without stopping to wash something mid-recipe. Duplicates aren't always clutter, they're convenience. They're about not having to run around the house looking for that 1 screwdriver. Not snapping at your partner because the only good pen is missing again. When you have what you need where you need it, life flows better. Now I'm not saying keep 6 can openers or a dozen hairbrushes. But if there's something you reach for every day and you're constantly misplacing it, it might not be a clutter problem. It might be a distribution problem. So don't feel guilty about keeping more than 1. Sometimes having duplicates is the simplest way to reclaim a little peace in your day-to-day. This one's tricky not because it's about what's in your home, but because it's about what isn't yours. When you're on a roll decluttering, it can feel tempting to help someone else by editing their stuff too. Maybe it's your partner's old tech gear, a pile of books they haven't touched, or a shelf of things you're sure they forgot about. But here's the gentle truth. If it doesn't belong to you, don't declutter it. It might seem innocent. They won't notice, or I'm just making space. But removing someone's belongings without their say can create resentment. What started as a helpful gesture becomes a quiet wound. Instead, focus inward. Clear your clutter. Tend to your side of the space. You'd be surprised how contagious it is. I once did a massive reset of my closet and office shelves. I didn't mention it. I didn't suggest anyone else do the same. But within days, the energy shifted. My partner began sorting through things on his own, not because I asked, but because the space invited it. Decluttering isn't about control. It's about creating calm together. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is lead silently. We've all been there, holding some random plastic piece, an extra screw, a wire, a mystery hook, and thinking, what even is this? Your hand hovers over the trash can. It looks useless, out of context. But here's the thing. Sometimes those unrecognizable parts are the key to making something else actually work. I've done it. Tossed a little piece I couldn't identify, only to find out weeks later it was the cap for my vacuum or the part that locked the blender in place. And by then, replacing it was either impossible or surprisingly expensive. These parts usually show up when we're deep into clear-it-all-out mode. But not everything unknown is clutter. Some of it is just waiting to be needed. Now, I'm not saying you need to keep a junk drawer full of confusion forever, but having a small labeled box for spare parts can be a lifesaver. I keep one in the garage. When I find something and I'm not sure what it is, but it looks like it belongs to something, in it goes. No shame. No second guessing. Weeks or months later, I'll be fixing something and think, wait, I have the part for that. And there it is. Decluttering isn't about being ruthless. It's about being prepared in ways that future you will thank you for. And sometimes preparation looks like a little Ziploc bag full of unknowns. Paper clutter is one of the most overwhelming kinds because it feels endless. Old bills, random manuals, receipts from who knows when. When you're finally ready to tackle it, the instinct is often to shred first, ask questions later. But pause, because somewhere in that pile might be a birth certificate, a marriage license, a passport, a paid-off mortgage document. Things you can replace technically but not easily, and not without cost or frustration. There's a difference between paper clutter and paper essentials. And if you've ever tried to get a copy of a legal document during a stressful time, you know that difference well. So here's what I do. I have one drawer, just one. It's labeled. Inside is a folder with the irreplaceables. Not just the legal stuff, but the meaningful too. A handwritten note, a card that marked a turning point, something from a loved one I miss. The rest, that can go. But this drawer is sacred. Decluttering doesn't mean risking regret. It means honoring what truly matters and letting go of the rest. When you give your important papers a home, you give yourself peace. And in moments of chaos or change, that peace is worth everything. Not everything you keep for sentimental reasons is clutter. Let's just say that out loud. There's this pressure sometimes, like the goal of decluttering is to erase every trace of the past, to let go of anything that's not useful. But what about the recipe card in your grandmother's handwriting? The scarf your mom gave you when you moved out? The photo that still makes you tear up even now? You don't have to let go of those things. In fact, if something makes you feel anchored, warm, or quietly understood, it's probably not clutter at all. The problem isn't sentimental items. It's keeping too many things out of guilt, not love. So here's the shift. Keep what you cherish and release the rest. Not everything deserves a frame or a spotlight, but some things do. That recipe card I mentioned, I framed mine. It hangs in my kitchen. Every time I pass it, it's like a quiet hug from the past. I've started doing that more, bringing the memory into the light instead of stuffing it in a box. Decluttering doesn't mean erasing who you are. It means clearing space so the right memories, the ones that still bring you joy, can breathe a little easier. Let's talk about the things that carry history, the ones passed down through hands, through stories, through time. Family heirlooms can be beautiful or burdensome, sometimes both. It might be a ring worn by 3 generations, or a dresser that's moved more times than you can count, or a handwritten journal yellowed with age but rich with meaning. Here's the thing, you don't have to keep everything. Just because something is old doesn't mean it belongs in your future. But some pieces do. The ones that still hold meaning. The ones that whisper, you come from somewhere strong. I have a ring like that, my grandmother's. She gave it to my mom, who gave it to me. I plan to pass it on, not out of obligation, but because it still means something. It still fits into my life, my story. You're allowed to keep the heirlooms that make you feel connected. And you're allowed to let go of the ones that feel like weight. Decluttering doesn't mean cutting your roots. It means watering the parts of your story that still grow. And when you choose what to carry forward, it becomes not just family history, but family intention. There's a quiet kind of luxury that doesn't come from new furniture, but from furniture that's lasted. Solid wood. Real craftsmanship, pieces that don't wobble after a year or peel at the corners. You can feel the weight of it literally and emotionally. In a world of flat-pack furniture and 5-minute assembly videos, it's easy to forget how rare quality has become. We get tempted by trend's convenience and what looks good for now. But some furniture is worth holding on to, not because it's stylish, but because it's solid, dependable, still useful. I found a vintage dresser, once $40 on Facebook Marketplace. It needed a little love, but now it's one of my favorite pieces in the house. Not just because it's pretty, but because it's real, heavy, honest. When you're decluttering or redecorating, it's easy to think you need to start fresh. But look closely. That old side table, that sturdy coffee table. They might just need a wipe down, not a goodbye. Decluttering isn't about tossing the old in favor of the shiny. It's about choosing things that work, that last, that tell a better story over time. Sometimes the most grounding thing in your home is a piece of furniture that's been grounded for decades. Photos are sneaky. They don't take up much space until they do. And then suddenly you're faced with boxes of prints, albums, half-finished envelopes from old film labs, each one tugging at your heart just a little. It's easy to feel overwhelmed. I can't keep all of this, you think. And you're right. You don't have to. But before you toss them all in a fit of frustration, pause. Because some of those photographs aren't just pictures. They're your history. Faces of people who shaped your story. Places that no longer exist. Moments that would be forgotten without proof. The trick isn't to keep every photo, it's to keep the right ones. The ones that still move you. The ones you'd want your children or nieces or best friend to stumble upon one day and say, "Wow, this mattered." Here's what I've done. I keep one small box. Inside are the photographs that make me feel something. I don't worry about having a complete record. I just want a meaningful one. Decluttering doesn't mean erasing the past. It means choosing the memories that still speak to you and letting go of the rest with love. A single photo on a nightstand can hold more meaning than 100 stuffed in a drawer. Choose the ones that still have a voice. Minimalism loves to say, only keep what you need right now. But real life, it's not always that neat. Sometimes the towel you need isn't the one hanging in the bathroom, it's the one in the closet when guests arrive. Sometimes the extra blanket becomes a lifesaver during a power outage. Sometimes having a little more is the very thing that makes life feel calmer. That's what I call a quiet reserve. It's not about hoarding or fear-based prepping. It's about having a small, thoughtful stockpile of the things that keep your home running smoothly. Extra towels, a spare set of sheets, an extra pillow or two, even a couple of kitchen tools that save the day when the dishwasher's full. You don't need to overdo it, just enough to feel ready, not overwhelmed. I keep my extras neatly folded in a bin in the linen closet. They're not out in the open. They don't get in the way. But when I need them, I exhale with relief that they're still here. Decluttering isn't about stripping your home bare. It's about knowing what supports you and making space for that. And sometimes peace looks like a few quiet backups patiently waiting their turn. So there you have it. 12 things that might not look important at first glance, but quietly make life easier, calmer, and more whole. Decluttering isn't about chasing some perfect empty room. It's about creating a home that supports you. That works for the way you actually live. That has space for both the everyday and the just in case. If you've ever felt that pressure to get rid of everything, I hope this gave you permission to pause, to notice what's still serving you, to keep what matters and let go of the rest. If any of these made you think, yes, I've almost thrown that out before, leave a comment. I'd love to hear which ones you've kept and why. And if this helped you feel just a little lighter today, hit subscribe. There's more where this came from. You don't have to do it all at once. You just have to do it with intention. Thanks for being here. I'll see you in the next one.